everyone. The return of Monday Musings and the Fantasy Tavern. Please pull up a drink and get ready. Get around the cozy fire. Get a nice stew, a mince pie, or whatever makes you cozy as these winter days are coming upon us. Though I know they're more wintry for others than it is for me. But, it does get a little cold every now and then in these southern states. So I do hope that you all are definitely cozy. I am cozy up here with my kitty cat, who is, of course, trying to interfere, but he is sitting on the book. So, yes, we are going to start going through books I love. And one of these, of course, is the whole Harry Potter series. Now, of course, as far as a read, well, there will be, let's say, commentary because reasons. And I find it very fascinating just looking at the text of the book, just rereading this first chapter. It was really interesting to me. So I hope you all will enjoy. Let's see. We have John 005 Dash. I tried reading the first book, but could not get into it. Hope you enjoy it. Well, thank you. I'm already enjoying it, and I'm already enjoying doing it again. Hello, Gorillas, Random Thoughts. I did answer your question, but thank you so much for being here. Anti-derivative Jill, always great to see her. And everyone, please subscribe to everybody that is here in the chat. Support their channels. Let's support each other. Anti-derivative Jill said, sorcerers instead of philosophers. I suppose then that Vernon is going to the bakery rather than the baker's opposite. Yes. Well, I had thoughts about it. I do own the real one, the British version, but I wanted to be able to write all over the book and take my notes. And like it or not, this is kind of the American thing. But man, I'll tell you, this one is brutal when it comes to its Americanisms. Oh my gosh, it's awful. So yes, what I do is I picked up this copy for like $1 at the half price store so that I could write all over it. It is Chris Sandom. We love our flowers here at Miss Martin Muses, and I love my cousins. Let's see. Yes, Gorilla's Random Thought says, careful with reading the chapters. Mr. S had his entire channel from book he read on video, and they hit him with 26 straight 3 years after the upload. Oh, yes. You see, that's what I'm saying is, so when I'm saying it's a read, it's not really a read through. You'll see how I do it because I am very well aware of copyright, not only because of maybe what YouTube will do to me, but also being a musician, I am very well aware, to my humble opinion, that it's kind of uncool to maybe make my own audio version of it as opposed to people going and buying them because this is copyrighted material and people do own it. And I know that often as musicians, I'm just sensitive to that. Let me put it to you that way. Like, I want you to pay me for my music. So, no, don't worry. But I do thank you. Thank you for thinking of me because, yes, it would be really a shame to lose my channel. I do encourage people. Here we go. So if you are listening YouTube, please, everyone, purchase the book, purchase the Audible, purchase the new one with the live cast. It has House playing Dumbledore. So, yes, buy the originals. Episodes are okay, though. Yes, and I will be doing excerpts. Yes, thank you. You know what? I love it that y'all have my back because YouTube can be really weird. I've noticed that sometimes they are very lenient and sometimes they are very much coming down on your back. And I think a lot of that has to do with who owns the work. That's why you will never see me play any clips, even though I know you can kind of play a few for a certain amount of seconds. I just get so leery of that. Or, for example, as Grilla said, maybe 3 years later, I'll get something entirely removed for something I did years ago. When I did my Close Encounters solfege video, I was even worried because that whole sequence, the so la so do, it copyrighted. So I did it with audiation, and I hope that people that saw it helped it, enjoyed it rather. And I am going to do the second part. It might take me 3 years to get the next one, but I will. Yes, YouTube is definitely bipolar as heck regarding copyright. Tell me about it, which is why I don't play. Yeah, and for those of you that didn't watch the first one, the whole solfege language with the aliens and Close Encounters of the Third Kind, There's a language that is going on with what they're doing with solfege, because if you know anything, if you know music and music theory, um, at the end of the movie, the alien and him actually have a dialogue with each other that makes like complete sense. But I think they thought it was too cerebral, so they made it sound like the alien and them were doing the same do, when actually they were saying something very different with the solfege. But anyways, that is definitely a digression. Okay, Chrysanthemum is getting ready. She's saying, "Hang on, let me snuggle down with Kitten while I listen." Yes, please do. And yeah, my my cat. I wish one of these days, maybe I'll be in a position where I will be able to be on camera so that you can see my cat is totally snuggled up with me, and I have a Beauty and the Beast blanket, a new one I got, and he has just been all over it because that's what cats do. All right. So if y'all are snuggling up, we're going to look at Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, Sorcerer's Stone from the beginning. And we all know that there is going to be a new version of it coming out, which is likely going to be horrendous. They say it's going to be faithful, but they've already deviated, and we all know that. We should know better whenever they say something is going to be faithful. Now, as far as a schedule, I cannot promise a schedule. If you've been watching my Catholic Explaining channel, I have been telling you about what's been going on with my family. We are going through cancer, chemo, tumors, surgeries, and it's just not, I cannot commit to any schedule. I can barely commit to my music schedule, but I'm luckily very blessed that I can dictate my schedule and when I perform, etc. So I'm very blessed that way, but I am also going through stress, big time stress, like so bad that I've been having physical manifestations of it because I didn't know how stressed I was until it happened. So please pray for me. And for lack of a better word, part of what I'm needing to do is get rid of caffeine. Oh dear. Oh dear. Oh dear. I've gotten rid of every vice, everything. I got rid of all the hard ones. Now caffeine's coming. So here we go. I hope you all are snuggled. And we're going to start with The Boy Who Lived. That is the name of Harry Potter. That is part of his legend. Mr. and Mrs. Dursley were proud to say that they were perfectly normal. Thank you very much. I love that opening. And because of what's been going on with J.K. Rowling, I've looked at this chapter so differently. Maybe she might look back on the Dursleys and think, oh, maybe they were on to something, except for some of the things that's going to be coming up. Those of you that know, I didn't say the part about Privet Drive number 4, but I guess I did now, didn't I? You see what I'm doing. Thank you, Chrysanthemum. Pray to Saint, I'm going to say Pellegrini, but I think he's a composer. But you know who I'm talking about. Definitely, definitely. And of course, My Little Flower. Let's see. You can hear the British sass. Thank you very much. Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm just perfectly normal. And they didn't hold with nonsense. They didn't hold with such nonsense when it came to things that were strange or mysterious. Now, once again, at this point in my life, and when you look at what J.K. Rowling's timeline is, she's not putting up with this nonsense of the world either. See, I think when she wrote this, people like her were the progressives, if you know what I mean. And now that I think that she was more on the side of, obviously, of the magical, the whimsical, and opening up your mind. And now she's reaping the consequences a little bit of that, maybe a bit. Though, if I wanted to have an analogy with the real people, I would say that Rowling is maybe still on the magical side, and her the actors that play Hermione and Harry Potter are more like the Dursleys. But I'm wondering if she's reflected on this differently. I did too. It's like, well, maybe there's something to be said about normal. You never tear down a fence until you know why it was put up. All right. And then we learn a little bit about Mr. Dursley. What does he look like? He was a big, beefy man with hardly any neck. Man, I remember they complained that this book was fatphobic, and to a certain degree, yeah, I mean, it was more acceptable to portray people like that, and but it was more she's doing the Charles Dickens thing with this novel, where people's outward appearance is saying something about their inward selves, and they were very gluttonous. But when you look at the Dursleys, they're not just gluttonous, or he rather isn't. He's gluttonous maybe with food, and so the way that they treat Dudley with overfeeding him and stuff, so that he gets fat and over. But they're gluttonous in their spirit. So that's one way that I look at it. Yeah. So it's big, beefy, and had a very large mustache. Meanwhile, Mrs. Dursley was thin and blonde and had nearly twice the usual amount of neck. So Mrs. Dursley is a thin woman and she is a blonde woman. Oh, I should also say that he has a quote unquote very mundane job. It is making drills. At this point in my life, maybe that doesn't sound so bad. The Dursleys had a small son named Dudley, who no finer boy anywhere. Objectively on its own, that's really not so bad, is it? But, well, as we all know, if you think too highly of your child, such as the point that you do not correct them, that you do not guide them, that you do not raise them the way they're supposed to be raised, well, then guess what's going to happen? Guess what's going to happen? You're going to end up with a little monster. The Dursleys had everything they wanted, but they also had a secret. Now, everyone on the planet has a secret. It's like what House says on the TV show House, everybody lies. And they didn't want anyone to find out about it. Something that was deep and shameful. Quote, the Potters. And they explained to us that that is Mrs. Dursley's sister. But they haven't seen each other in years, and they actually pretend that she does not exist. Her good-for-nothing husband was as un-Dursley-ish as it was possible to be. I find this also interesting. We know, of course, that they're wizards. So we're dealing with muggles versus wizards. At this point, we don't do we know that? We don't know that from the text. Isn't this interesting how she allows us to discover this? They knew that they had a small son, but of course, they'd never seen him. They didn't want Dudley mixing with a child like that. Keep Dudley away from this bad influence of Harry Potter, a weirdo. As we know what happens in the 7th book, I think that's great. Well, it started in the 5th book. None of them noticed a tawny owl fluttered past the window. So now we're starting to see the owls. Very well done in the movie. So we also get some insight from Dursley. He's having a tantrum and throwing his cereal at the walls. Little Tyke, chortled Mr. Dursley. That is where the problem is with the Dursleys. It's not so much that he's fat, but he's ignoring bad behavior from his son, and worse, he thinks it's funny and cute. It's not, because children like that grow up to be monsters. And then as he's leaving, he notices a cat reading a map. The image of this kitty cat. Right now, I have a cat on me. Now, my cat likes to claim my books. Like he was actually sitting on my Harry Potter earlier. But if he started reading the book, I would get really concerned. It's a tabby cat. It's like, oh, he says there was a tabby cat that usually is there, but there wasn't a map in sight. Oh, okay. So he goes and looks at it, and I guess the cat put the map away. And he stares at the cat, and the cat stares back. We know that this is McGonagall, so that's what's so cool. Yes. And Chrysanthemum, yes, you are correct. A child like that grows into an adult like that. Correct. They become their parents in the worst sense of the word. So now we have Mr. Dursley with a staring match with the cat, with McGonagall. If you know cats, We have staring matches all the time. At least mine does, because I should have named him Dexter. That would have been a better name for him. And so he saw the cat then reading the sign. He's like, cats couldn't read maps or signs. And he gave himself a little shake and put the cat out of his mind. And then he started thinking about all the drills that he had to sell today. But then there was a lot of weird stuff happening. And I like this. She said he sat in the usual morning traffic jam. And everything is ordinary with this family. He was in the usual morning traffic jam. Couldn't help noticing there was a lot of strangely dressed people about. People in cloaks. My first thought, knowing Harry Potter lore, is what the heck? They're supposed to be hidden. Why are they all out and about? This will be addressed. Mr. Dursley couldn't bear people who dressed in funny clothes. Neither can I. Maybe I'm getting old and cranky. But then again, I also live in sweatpants and all of that. I only get dressed up when I have to, when I put on my persona when I am performing. But yeah, I'm just not into that anymore. But I don't dress weird. So there are many weirdly dressed weirdos. And a whole bunch of weirdos standing around. They were whispering excitedly together. And then a man older than he was, wearing an emerald green cloak. So does that mean that person is Slytherin or just had an emerald green cloak? The nerve of him. And then he saw this was probably some silly stunt. Obviously collecting for something. Story of my life. Again, I'm relating to these people, and I'm wondering how much rolling is as well. How many mornings have we had that start like this? Mr. Dursley always sat with his back to the window in his office on the ninth floor. The ninth floor. Now, I, of course, would do that because I'm antisocial. I liked to hide in my office when I did back in the day. If he hadn't, he might have found it harder to concentrate on drills that morning. He was doing it because he loves drills. But he didn't see more owls sweeping past in broad daylight. And saying everyone's looking at them because most people had never even seen an owl, even at nighttime. But Mr. Dursley, however, had a perfectly normal owl-free morning. He yelled at 5 different people, shouted a bit more, and he was in a very good mood. Very good mood. Chrysanthemum says, sees weirdly dressed people. There's got to be a fair or collection going on. Yes. And in the road, trying to collect things. And then he decided he was going to buy himself a bun from the bakery. I'm surprised they kept the word bun. And he'd forgotten all about them, until he passed a group of them next to the bakers and eyed them angrily. Now, I don't eye people angrily that are all in the way and being weird. I just look away. Now, I'm almost on his side because, yes, I'm glad that the wizards are all about in everyone's way, but come on, people. Come on. And they were whispering excitedly, too. And he couldn't see a single collection tin. And it was on his way past them, clutching a large donut in a bag, and he caught a few words of what they were saying. The Potters, that's right, their son Harry. And then Mr. Dursley, that caught his attention. Because he's like, oh no, I know those names. I know the Potters, and I know Harry. And it says here, fear flooded flooded him. And he kind of tried to run away, dash back the road, and he was thinking, no, it couldn't be the Potters. It's not an unusual name. And then he said, come to think of it, he wasn't even sure his nephew was called Harry. He'd never seen the boy. And he certainly didn't want to tell it to Petunia. It says here, she always got upset at any mention of her sister. We know why, of course. We know why. but he found it more hard to concentrate on drills. Oh, yeah, Vernon's employees loved working for him. Yeah, they probably hated his guts. Absolutely. And then as he's walking home, he nearly bumps into someone and goes, "Sorry." And it was a few seconds before Mr. Dursley realized that the man was wearing a violet cloak. And he didn't seem at all upset about being almost knocked to the ground. On the contrary, his face split into a wide smile. And he said in a squeaky voice, "Don't be sorry, my dear sir, for nothing could upset me today. Rejoice, for you know who has gone at last. Even muggles like yourself should be celebrating this happy, happy day." And he hugged Mr. Dursley. I love it, yeah. Poor Vernon's employees. I would be crying every day, but I can't imagine this guy hugging Mr. Dursley. And of course, he thought about he'd been called a muggle, whatever that was. And as he pulls into the driveway, he sees the cat again. It was now sitting on his garden wall. He was sure it's the same one. And he tells it to shoo. And the cat didn't move. It just gave him a stern look. So far, there's nothing unusual about this cat, is there? That's what cats do. But we know it's McGonagall staring him down in cat form, especially when a cat's on a wall. That's just crazy. And he's like, "Is this normal cat behavior?" And Mrs. Dursley had had a nice, normal day. She had told over dinner all about Mrs. Next Door's problems with her daughter, and Dudley had learned a new word, won't. Now, I remember it was shan't. When I say shan't in the American accent, it sounds awful. Yeah. So, in other words, she's developing that Dudley is a nutcase. He's already a little brat. Won't. Temper tantrum. Them laughing at it. And he thinks about, it's like a new word. Isn't this great? And then she's like, they're listening to the evening news. Bird watchers everywhere have reported that the nation's owls have been behaving very unusually today. And they're like, now we're going to go to Jim the Weatherman. Going to be any more showers of owls tonight? Well, Ted, I don't know about that, but it's not only the owls that have been acting oddly. Viewers as far apart as Kent, Yorkshire, and Dundee have been phoning in to tell me instead of the rain I promised yesterday, they've had a downpour of shooting stars. Perhaps people have been celebrating bonfire night early. It's not until next week, folks. Oh boy. Yeah, so we have them out in the open, in their clothes, owls flying everywhere, and shooting stars. Now, if I was one of those people that was always trying to find omens and everything, I would be totally freaking out at this point. Kristen then says, they were not my child angel parents. Yeah, you're giving me flashbacks now. Yeah. He didn't do that. She couldn't have done that. You're lying. And the penny starts to drop with Mr. Dursley. Shooting stars all over Britain, owls flying by daylight, mysterious people in cloaks all over the place, a whisper about the Potters. And then he kind of decides, okay, I'm going to suck it up. He clears his throat nervously. Petunia, dear, you haven't heard from your sister lately, have you? And she looked shocked and angry, because they normally pretended she didn't have a sister. No, she said sharply. Why? And if you're wondering why I'm not doing a British accent, if I try to do one, you'd know why I don't. He's like, funny stuff on the news, funny looking people. So, snapped Mrs. Dursley. Well, it might be her crowd. And she sipped her tea through pursed lips. And he goes, their son. He'd be about Dudley's age now, wouldn't he? And then what's his name? Howard? Harry. Nasty common name, if you ask me. Yes, I quite agree. They're not happy with him. And then, of course, Harry, I'm thinking of another Harry in Britain right now. All right, but though he's in Los Angeles, he didn't say another word on the subject as they went up to bed. I can definitely see him turning into a bit of a yes dear kind of guy. He's obviously walking on eggshells around here, and while she's in the bathroom, he runs to the window, where she won't see him, and looks out. The cat was still there. It was staring down Privet Drive as though it were waiting for something. Dun dun dun. This cat, McGonagall. Hello, it is Steve Kenobi. Thank you for being here. Hi there, Teresa. Hello. We are going through Harry Potter Chapter 1. Obviously, not reading every word for reasons, but we're going through this, and I'm just finding that looking just at this chapter and just at these words, she really does a great job of painting what's going on and getting your curiosity going. And of course, knowing what we know now about everything, it gives you a totally different perspective, especially Mrs. Dursley. Okay, I'm just going to say it. There's going to be spoilers. So if you've never read Harry Potter, there's going to be spoilers. There has to be. Because we all know that the reason why Mrs. Dursley is so upset and doesn't want to hear anything about him is because she wanted to be a witch too. She wanted to be special, and she didn't have the talent and wasn't able to go. So she's very bitter about it. She's very jealous. She's envious. She didn't get her letter. Yeah. So anyways, we're going on with the cat. They got into bed, but Mr. Dursley laid awake. His last comforting thought before he fell asleep was that even if the Potters were involved, there was no reason for them to come near him and Mrs. Dursley. Little he knew, the Potters knew very well what he and Petunia thought about them and their kind. Ooh, it couldn't affect them. How very wrong he was. And then we kind of change the perspective to where the kitty cat is. A man appeared on the corner. The cat had been watching. Appeared so suddenly and silently, you'd have thought he just popped out of the ground. The cat's tail twitched and its eyes narrowed. It's Dumbledore. Nothing like this man had ever been seen on Privet Drive. He was tall, thin, and very old, judging by the silver of his hair and beard, which were both long enough to tuck into his belt. So we get this description of Dumbledore, very old, silver hair, a beard long enough to tuck into his belt. To be honest, I'd cut it. Whoopsie. The page almost turned. He was wearing long robes, a purple cloak that swept the ground, and high-heeled, buckled boots. Blue eyes, sparkling behind half-moon spectacles, and his nose was very long and crooked. That's why, the first Dumbledore was so much better. Richard Harris, but of course, you can't help the fact that he died. I mean, you can't blame him. And then we hear the name. The man's name was Albus Dumbledore. Oops, Anti-Derivative Jill says, Chapter 1 is a great setup transporting us from the Muggle world before bringing us very slowly into the magic. Yes, yes. Chrysanthemum says, she does a good job of keeping the language simplistic enough for kids, but still fun for parents and adults to read as well. Precisely. And as Dumbledore is there, he starts rummaging around, and he did seem to realize he was being watched because he looked up suddenly at the cat, which was still staring at him from the other end of the street. Try eating your breakfast with a cat. Or waking up in the morning and they're staring at you from across the room. For some reason, the sight of the cat amused him. He chuckled. I should have known. Now, they would never have written this today, but he picked up something inside his pocket that seemed to be a silver cigarette lighter. This is where the censors would go, no, oh my gosh. Yes. And the nearest street lamp went out with a little pop. Of course, this is going to play a huge role in the Deathly Hallows. Yes, Richard Harris was perfect. It took a while for Gambon to portray Dumbledore well enough because he didn't want to copy Harris's performance. Yeah, I agree. Almost too different for a while. Or read the books. Oh, interesting. I didn't know that about him. And see, it says 12 times he clicked the put outer until only lights left in the whole street were two tiny pinpricks in the distance, which were the eyes of the cat watching him. If anyone looked out their window, not even beady-eyed Mrs. Dursley, they wouldn't be able to see anything. He slipped the putter outer back. Now, I'm wondering if anyone has the British version, is that what they called it in there? That just sounds like a very American description. And he looks at the cat. Fancy seeing you here, Professor McGonagall. He turned to smile at the tabby, but it had gone. Instead, he was smiling at a rather severe-looking woman who was wearing square glasses exactly the shape of the markings the cat had around its eyes. She, too, was wearing a cloak, an emerald one. Her black hair was drawn into a tight bun. She looked distinctly ruffled. Okay, so here we go. We know she's severe, square glasses, wearing a cloak, an emerald run, and her black hair was drawn into a tight bun. So maybe not as old looking as Maggie Smith, but it was Maggie Smith, so who cares? And he goes, she goes, how did you know it was me? My dear professor, I've never seen a cat sit so stiffly. Then she must have been really stiff. Yeah, I could see a kid laughing at this. I mean, just thinking that was just hilarious. Yeah, almost read it except for him. Oh, okay, yeah. And then she goes, you'd be stiff if you'd been sitting on a brick wall all day. And he said, all day when you could have been celebrating? She sniffed angrily. Oh, yes, everyone's celebrating all right. You'd think they'd be a bit more careful, but no. Yeah, and that's what I was thinking when I was reading. It's like, what the heck are they doing? We all know about the secrecy rules, and they were breaking them. And it was so much, it was on their news. I heard it. Flocks of owls shooting stars. Well, they're not completely stupid. She's talking about the muggles. They were bound to notice something. And she goes, I bet it was Daedalus Diggle. He never had much sense. And Dumbledore says gently, we've had precious little to celebrate for 11 years. Something else. That's a long time to be at the kind of war that they were in, and how many people they lost. We know this later. You know, how many people died. 11 years they've been at war and didn't have much to celebrate for this long. I know that, said Professor McGonagall irritably. That's no reason to lose our heads. I agree with her, by the way. She's absolutely right. She threw a sharp sideways glance at Dumbledore. A fine thing it would be if on the very day you know whom seems to have disappeared, the muggles found out about us all. I'm Team McGonagall on this one. Absolutely. And he goes, has he really gone, Dumbledore? You know, she asked him, has he gone? It's like, it seems so. Would you care for a lemon drop? And she's like, oh, what? Kind of a muggle sweet I'm rather fond of. She's like, no, thank you. It's like she can't believe that he's offering her candy. And he goes, my dear professor, surely a sensible person like yourself can call him by his name. All this you-know-who nonsense. For 11 years, I've been trying to persuade people to call him by his proper name. Voldemort. The first time we hear Voldemort, see, she's gradually revealing. We know something's happened. We know somebody's been defeated. We know you know who's someone. And then he goes, his name is Voldemort. And I've never seen any reason to be frightened of it. I know, says Professor McGonagall, but you're different. Everyone knows you're the only one you know who was frightened of. She's revealing something about Dumbledore. So this old man who seems to be so nice and sitting around drinking, offering candy, having lemon drops. She's like, this is the only one that the big baddie is frightened of. So what we're seeing with Dumbledore is definitely more than meets the eye. Chrysanthi I apologize if I'm getting tongue-tied here. Chrysanthemum says, now if there was that big of a war going on for 11 years, wouldn't the Muggles have noticed that? Or did they just do a good job of covering it up? I think it's something very similar to what happened in the later books. Like, they knew crap was happening, but they had other reasons for it. Like, so something blew up or something, oh, it was an accident. And also, Muggles, rather, the witch people, they would use Obliviate on the Muggles, which I'm not sure that that's ethical. There's a lot of things that aren't ethical in this. Frankly, the whole of Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry is unethical. You can't do that to kids. You can't send kids to a school like that where they're gonna die. I always wondered, do the parents have to sign the most frightening and most stringent and most illegal disclaimer on the planet when they allow their kids to go there? You can just stick with Chrysanth says, I can't stand that YouTube did the at thing. Oh, I'm sorry about that. Isn't that annoying? I hate change. I fear change. He goes, you flatter me. Voldemort had powers I will never have. Tell us something about Voldemort. Only because you're too noble to use them. And he goes, I haven't blushed so much since Madame Pumphrey told me she liked my new earmuffs. Okay, there's a part of me. We learn his orientation later. Was this intentionally written in here, or is it just a British thing? Help me out here. Change is bad. Yes, it is. Madame Pomfrey. So we're learning more names. So we have Voldemort, we have McGonagall, we have Dumbledore, and now Madame Pomfrey. Who's Madame Pomfrey? We won't know. So, but this name dropping is going to bear fruit later. The owls are nothing next to the rumors that are flying around. She reaches a point that she really wanted to get to. The real reason she had been waiting on a cold, hard wall all day, for neither as a cat nor as a woman had she fixed Dumbledore with such a piercing stare as she did now. What they're saying is last night Voldemort turned up in Godric's Hollow, and the rumors that Lily and James Potter they're dead. Dumbledore bowed his head. She gasped. Lily and James, I can't believe it. I didn't want to believe it. Oh, Albus. So they're showing a closeness with them. They're dead. And he's like, I know. But Harry, he couldn't have killed that little boy. No one knows why or how, but they're saying that when he couldn't kill Harry Potter, Voldemort's power somehow broke, and that's why he's gone. Now, we learn later why it is. It's all the Horcrux thing. But his power broke. They don't say that he's gone. They don't say that he's dead. His power broke. Anti-derivative Jill said, Obliviate is not ethical at all. It seems like it's psychologically problematic at best and could cause severe brain damage at worst. Indeed, that should be one of the unforgivable curses. But is it even considered a curse? Oh dear, there's some ethical issues. Yeah, I completely agree with you, anti-derivative Jill. I'm convinced she didn't decide. Chrysanthemum says he was betting for the other team until much later. She likely didn't think of it at all in the beginning. Probably. That's what I had always thought. She's saying to anti-derivative Jill. Anti-derivative Jill says either that our British people are not great at taking compliments. I don't know. Yeah. All right. And then Dumbledore is confirming what she said. And she goes, it's true. After all he's done, all the people he's killed. So they're telling us in these 11 years, all these people were killed. And he goes, and she says, he couldn't kill a little boy. How in the name of heaven did Harry survive? We can only guess, said Dumbledore. We may never know. Haha, we will learn, won't we? We will learn. And then she starts to cry. I was like, oh man, because, this severe woman obviously has a heart. So now we know that McGonagall, she's a nice gal and that she loved these people. And then this whole idea that this boy is being left an orphan, that's just very sad. And Dumbledore is also crying. And then he gets out a golden watch that has 12 hands but no numbers. Instead, little planets were moving around the edge. Just more random magic here. He goes, Hagrid's late. Another name, Hagrid. And then she says, yes, Professor McGonagall says, I suppose you're not going to tell me why you're here, of all places. And Dumbledore tells her, I've come to bring Harry to his aunt and uncle. They're the only family he has left now. And she's like, you can't mean these people. You couldn't find two people less like us. And they've got this son. I saw him kicking his mother all the way up the street, screaming for sweets. And she goes, Harry Potter, come and live here? And Dumbledore says firmly, it's the best place for him. We learn that Dumbledore knew there was something magical or something to do with family that needed to happen. Was it explicitly explained about this before we got all the big reveals? Did he actually know this? But he knew he had to be with family, and he writes him a letter. And she's like, but they'll never understand. He'll be famous, a legend. I wouldn't be surprised if today was known as Harry Potter Day in the future. Little did Rowling know we'd kind of have that with Harry Potter's birthday, which we celebrate, fans celebrate, also the 1st of September, to the point that at King's Cross Station, they even make an announcement that the train is leaving. And then Dumbledore says, how much better off will he be growing up away from all that until he's ready to take it? Basically, she's saying that everyone's going to know who he is. He's going to be famous. To do this to a child is not cool. And then, let's see, turning the page. When he reminds her that Hagrid is bringing Harry Potter, she says, you think it wise to trust Hagrid with such something as important as this? I would trust Hagrid with my life, said Dumbledore. So we're learning a little bit about who this Hagrid person is. First of all, it's someone that McGonagall thinks maybe this guy isn't the right person for this. But on the other hand, Dumbledore says, I would trust Hagrid with my life. So if if Dumbledore says that about Hagrid, then we know that there's something about Hagrid that is absolutely reliable. And McGonagall says, you can't pretend he's not careless. And then all of a sudden they start to hear a loud rumbling sound. And some sign of a headlight. It swelled to a roar as they looked up at the sky, and a huge motorcycle fell out of the air and landed on the road in front of them. The famous book, rather the famous motorcycle. And Hagrid literally drops from the sky and drops into the story. Anti-Derivative Jill says, yep, Harry knew Harry would be safe with Petunia, at least physically. Okay, that whole, not blood magic, that's the wrong word for it. I forget what the word is. Hello, Teresa. Hello, Jacob Ironside. Thank you for being here. And yes, it is Sirius's bike. Yeah, Sirius Black. Woo! And then we learn a little bit about Hagrid. Until this point, did we know he was a giant? No, we didn't, Precious. It says he was twice as tall as a normal man, at least 5 times as wide. He looked simply too big to be allowed. Ouch. And long tangles of bushy black hair. She's like, he's wild. And long tangles of bushy black hair and beard hid most of his face. He had hands the size of trash can lids. Alert, alert. I know it was a different word in Britain. And his feet in their leather boots were like baby dolphins. This man is humongous. Muscular arms, and he had a bundle of blankets. He goes, where did you get that motorcycle? Borrowed it, Professor Dumbledore Sore, says the giant. Young Sirius Black lent it to me. Ooh, another name. And we know, of course, Sirius, boy, is he more than the eye can see. At this point, they still think that he's a good guy. He's still on their side. Then they think he's a bad guy. And then we learn the Prisoner of Azkaban. He wasn't. He was all of the stuff that happens in the Prisoner of Azkaban. But another name. Any problems? No, sir. House was almost destroyed. This is giving us an image of what happened. It was something truly horrible that killed the parents. But I got him out all right before the muggles started swarming around. And inside this bundle is a baby boy, fast asleep, under a tuft of jet black hair. This is Harry's first description. Jet black hair over his forehead. And he had a curious shaped cut, like a bolt of lightning. Dun, dun, dun. Is that where? She whispered, yes, he'll have that scar forever. So that's where the Avada Kedavra curse hit him. And he became a Horcrux. Couldn't you do something about it, Dumbledore? Dumbledore says, even if I could, I wouldn't. Scars can come in handy. I have one myself above my left knee that is a perfect map of the London Underground. I would be saying to him, oh my gosh, Dumbledore, too much information. I have no idea how you get a scar like that. Maybe it's a little too much about his private life. Things got a little wild. Dumbledore took Harry in his arm and turned toward the Dursleys' house. Could I say goodbye to him, sir? So we're seeing that Hagrid has affection for Harry already. And let out a howl like a wounded dog. Shh, hissed Professor McGonagall. You'll wake the muggles. Sorry, but I can't stand it. Lily and James dead, and poor Harry off to live with the muggles. This is a great tragedy that they're going through. Oh no, we got a yes, a lightning and an LOL. Yeah, for what made that underground thing happen. Oh, him and what was his name? Oh my god, the name just flew right out of my head. I'm gonna say Hannibal Lecter because that's the actor who played him in the movies. So, a bit of a dumb question. Assuming this happened the previous night, was Harry just crying in a crumbling house all day? Oh, good point. Because it did happen the night before, and he said, "I got him out right before the Muggles started swarming around." Unless he got him out and then was trying to figure out how to get to the Dursleys and get the motorcycle and maybe even communicate with Dumbledore to find out that they're dead. Maybe that happened all during the day because I don't think the kid could have been screaming all day. Quit it, Benedict. Okay, Grindelwald, thank you. Thank you. Yes, Grindelwald, not Hannibal Lecter, but yeah, played Grindelwald in the third movie. Better casting than Johnny Depp, in my humble opinion, even though what they did Johnny Depp dirty. Yeah, I think I'm right about that. Because the Muggles would have heard a screaming baby. And he leads Harry gently on the doorstep, took a letter out of his cloak, tucked it inside Harry's blankets, and then came back to the other two. This is very Charles Dickens-y. We've got ourselves an orphan left on the doorstep. When I think of like Oliver Twist, he wasn't left at the doorstep, but he was born in a workhouse. For a full minute, the three of them stood and looked at the little bundle. Oh, and they're all crying. And the twinkling light that usually shone from Dumbledore's eyes seemed to have gone out. Well, said Dumbledore finally, that's that. We've no business staying here. We may as well go and join the celebrations. So, very matter of fact, got to move on. That makes more sense. Yeah, it does. I think that's what happened. Yes, said Hagrid in a very muffled voice. I best get this bike away. And off he goes with streaming eyes. I shall see you soon, I expect, Professor McGonagall, said Dumbledore. She blew her nose in reply. Oh, they're all so sad. And finally, When Dumbledore goes to get out the putter upper, he clicks it once, and 12 balls of light sped back to their street lamps so that Privet Drive glowed suddenly orange, and he could make out a tabby cat slinking around the corner. He could see the bundle of blankets on the step of number 4. Good luck, Harry, he murmured. He turned on his heel, and with a swish of his cloak, he was gone. The magic people. Gosh, this is kind of sad. I've been thinking about this. And when we know everything that Harry's going to go through, and Dumbledore, how he's going to feel like a jerk because he's kind of manipulating Harry, and oh my gosh, what's going to happen with Sirius? What's going to happen with everyone, with Hagrid, and even the owl, even though we haven't gotten to the owl yet? Man, so much. She dumped so much info without making it all exposition. So meanwhile, they dumped this poor kid in England. Shouldn't they have stood around and waited to make sure that the baby got okay? Maybe McGonagall was doing that. No, it said she slinked around the corner at the other end of the street. Someone make sure the baby's okay. I mean, England is cold, hypothermia. Anyways, apparently Harry was okay because he rolled over inside his blankets without waking up. One small hand closed on the letter beside him, and he slept on, not knowing he was special, not knowing he was famous, not knowing he would be woken in a few hours' time by Mrs. Dursley's scream as she opened the front door to put out the milk bottles. Gosh, I miss that. We used to do that in Ireland. Nor that he would spend the next few weeks being prodded and pinched by his cousin Dudley. See, we're already seeing what it's going to be like for him in this house. Oh, he didn't know that people meeting in secret all over the country. In secret, they were all over the place, but apparently she's saying they're meeting in secret all over the country, holding up their glasses and saying in hushed voices, "To Harry Potter, the boy who lived." Oh, dun, dun, dun. And that's how the first chapter goes. Gosh, I thought maybe we'll get half an hour out of this, but my goodness gracious. So much here. The squib was watching. Oh, yes. I remember. I think she's introduced in this book, if I remember. It's been a long time since I've read this first book. A lot more in the Order of the Phoenix, of course, that we get later. Oh, the heart. Yeah, happy heart. Chris Ann says, what an incredible introduction to the series. Isn't it, though? Gosh. And they did it so well in the movie. I mean, there's no way in heck in this new version that they're going to even come close to the magic of what they did. But my goodness. I mean, we got their physical descriptions. We got their mental descriptions, like who they are. We got to know their characters. We learned even a lot about Voldemort, what he could and what he couldn't do. We learned about Harry. We learned about Lily and James. We knew that they were all friends, that they were all close. Who's this Sirius Black who has this flying motorcycle? So much. And Andrew Jill says, yes, she's in the book, but we don't know her connection to the magical world yet. Yeah, okay. I think to recall that. Yeah, that she was like a weird neighbor that they thought she was. Oh, so good. So good. Yeah. So the Fantasy Tavern is back. I might be having guests on. I don't know. It just really depends on people's availability. And of course, what I'm doing is I'm reading it only chapter by chapter. So I have only reread chapter 1. Then I'm going to reread chapter 2 and do another review. And when I can get together and do it. Oh, we have Real Wadden Nation Gaming's recap. Hello, thank you for being here. Here's a question. Do you consider Fantastic Beasts in canon? I guess I kind of have to because that's what Rowling wrote. The execution of it maybe is horrendous, but I guess it is. At the end of the day, especially when the author is still alive, you go with what they say. Chris Anthon says, that's why I don't like movie adaptations. Movies can seldom recreate the wonder of a good book. Yeah. Well, the fact that they did it so well was like lightning striking, and lightning doesn't strike twice. Anti-Drift Jill says, I'm growing less and less hopeful for the new series, but I'm going to stick with it for 2 seasons no matter what. When it's awful, then I'll give up. Yeah. Well, we'll see. Of course, I'll watch it. There's a part of me that's like, no, I'm not going to watch that. But there's no way in heck. I'm minding my own business. I know it's premiering. Everyone's watching it. I'm going to watch it. It's kind of like House of the Dragon. It's so awful, but you just got to keep watching it. Well, you don't have to, but I personally do. The penny dropped for me that the reason why it's so bad and what they're doing and why it seems so out of character is that they're trying to do the plot of Wicked. If you watch Wicked for good, it is basically what the two queens were doing in the season 2 of the House of the Dragon. It really is the case. Okay, Enter Jill says, Fantastic Beasts is supposed to be canon, but they put McGonagall in there too soon. Yeah, and I remember there was solid criticism because she was born in like 1936, if I'm correct, and they had her like a grown woman in teaching in the 1920s or even earlier. Yeah. So I consider the outline of the story canon. Something went really wrong with all of those. Because they had such a good cast and such a good promise. I loved the whole American thing, getting to see the magic in America and getting to see the whole thing with Grindelwald. But oh well, yeah, indeed, indeed, indeed. So yeah, no, I enjoy doing this. This is nice to cozy up. Just stay tuned and we'll do some more. And I also plan to go through the books, what do you call it? Wuthering Heights. So that would not be a fantasy tavern, obviously, because Wuthering Heights is a Bronte book. Oh my gosh. This new version of it looks so terrible. I mean, just the fact that it's coming out on Valentine's Day shows you they do not understand the source material. It's going to be horrendous. But the book is actually really good. Very sad. Very, very sad, but very good. So I'm going to do that. And of course, you're going to be seeing more Wheel of Time. I did finish the Wheel of Time, so more reviews of those. Maybe I'll even eventually do those chapter by chapter. I love them so much. I know that Steve Kenobi and I are planning to do our personal testing of the Wheel of Time, the way people we would believe would have been perfect because they would be the way that they were described in the books. Stay tuned also for the, what do you call it? The Cowboy Campfire is going to return with the Wild Bunch. I watched it last night with my family, and Steve and I are going to be reviewing that. And then we're not going to do a Western for December because it's Christmas time and all that. But me and Maury, we're going to be reviewing the Mistletoe Mysteries. I think it's called the Mistletoe Mysteries. It's a Hallmark thing. So please go out and find good entertainment that uplifts, that makes you happy, that just brings you away from the world. I think that it's just so beautiful to do this and to get back into really good storytelling. And I know that we can never recreate it because you can only read Harry Potter once. Harry Potter can only come out once, but I think all of us are old enough that we read them as they came out. We were there at midnight, and especially the midnight when the final book came out. Wasn't that insane? That was insane. And you just read and read until you like passed out. And then you woke up. It's like, I've got to read some more. And you kept reading. I finished that book in one day. Oh, crazy, crazy good times. So I always encourage people, read, watch good material, watch good literature, watch good entertainment, get good old books. Like right now I'm reading the Dritz books. I'm on the, is it not the I've just finished. I'd finished the Cleric Quintet before I did my. I'm going to read the whole Wheel of Time, and now I am reading the Legend, not the Legend of the Legacy of the Drow. Oh, it's so good already. If you haven't read those Forgotten Realms books, I think that you will really enjoy them, especially if you like fantasy. Or read a good Jane Austen one. Read Wuthering Heights, so it's disturbing. Whatever you like, but also, I've seen a little bit of this online where people are judging people for what they like. Like what you want, even if it's garbage. Even if you like, for example, Wicked, there's been a little bit of judginess. I think that the Critical Drinker, he has a really good perspective on it. He did a really good review on it. It's like, it was what it was, and it wasn't made for everyone. They actually made it for the fans. So Wicked was actually a good thing. I think the main issue that people have is just the way Ariana Grande and Anthony Erivo were behaving. Like there was something seriously wrong with them. But maybe there is. I don't know. None of my business. But even Twilight, I objectively know that Twilight is horrendous. Absolutely horrendous. But do I enjoy it? Oh, heck yes, I enjoy it. Beauty and the Beast. If you ever get a chance to see Beauty and the Beast live, the musical version, do it. Do it. Love Beauty and the Beast. All right. Yes, good time, says Chris Anth. Yes. So my Catholic stuff has moved to the other channel. Catholic Splaining is now on Catholic Splaining channel. I've been gotten 642, I believe. Yes, 642 subs. So it's really coming along. I just need to have some watch hours. And, again, I just felt like it was appropriate to just move that there because this is more like geeky stuff, and the religion stuff is a different kind of audience gift, different kind of material. But let me go ahead and put the link for Catholic Splaining here in the chat. And this is my passion. I did a lot of work with this. I did a lot of apologetics work back in my younger days. I did a lot of writing. So here we are, Catholic Splaining. That's my channel. Stay tuned. I think that the Wild Bunch will be the next thing that I do in life. And so if you haven't seen the Wild Bunch and you want to participate, please go ahead and watch it. It's good. It's a little intense, but it's really good and very different. Let me see. Anti-derivative Jill says, if I'm calling something garbage, yes, like Twilight, laughing, I'm not saying the fans are wrong. Some people don't know the difference. Precisely. And I'm a fan and I call it garbage. Yeah. And well, how do I say this? We got really mad, and rightly so, when they turned on the fans, like Star Wars, where they turned on the fans. That is what made Star Wars awful. That's what made it fail. When you've got something like Wicked, they did anything but turn on the fans. Their fans. It was a love letter to their fans. It was a love letter to fans of Wicked. And literally, it wasn't made for a lot of people that are currently trying to make it something that it's not. Trying to make it the next Captain Marvel. No, it's not. This is actually what we need. We need more of Wicked. Not necessarily Wicked literally, but where they're making things for the fans. So making Wicked for fans of Wicked, making Marvel for fans of Marvel, Star Wars for fans of Star Wars. Hell, Wuthering Heights, Wuthering Heights. I mean, I can't believe what they're doing to Emily Bronte. That's what we want. We want more of that. And Twilight was also completely made for the fans. And it is a guilty pleasure. It is a comedy, unintentionally so. It's fun. I guess what I can say is that you can enjoy bad entertainment. It's possible. Why do you think I've watched Days of Our Lives for how many years? Soap operas. Why do I watch Hallmark things? They're ridiculous, but I love them. Why do people watch wrestling? It's silly, but it's great. So that's also a thing. So I guess what I'm saying, enjoy great stuff. I mean, yes, enjoy great stuff, but enjoy garbage stuff if you want. Yeah. Some people don't seem to know the difference, or they're pretending not to. They're pretending not to, trying to just get clicks and things. So I digress. Well, first of all, I want to thank everyone for being here. This has been a fantastic conversation. We have Antiderivative Jill. Yes, everyone, please subscribe to Antiderivative Jill. We have Chris Sant. Thank you so much for being here. Another little flower in my world. We had, let's see, we had Steve Kenobi pass by. I don't think he's ever read these. Jacob Ironside, thank you for being here. We also had Gorilla Nation, I believe. We had John005. Yeah, Grilla's Random Thoughts. That's what he is. I think I thanked everyone. If I missed anyone, it is definitely not intentional at all. Because what happens is it jumps and it's crazy. Wait, what do you mean no one's subscribing to you this month? Is it like for a reason, or is it just because you're just not getting a lot of subs? I have noticed that on some of what's going on with YouTube, like subs have slowed down in general. So if that's what's going on, well, that sucks. But here, let me make sure I put this in here. Here is an Antiderivative Jill's link, and boom, here we are. So everyone go subscribe to her, and those of you that are watching on the replay, she has great material, and she goes through things so cool. She does a lot of Star Trek material. What is it? Antiderivative Jill says, you did great at reading the chat today. Oh, well, thank you. Well, hey, I'm nothing without the chat. Nothing without the chat. Yeah, thank you. And thank you, everyone. And Gorilla's Random Thoughts. He does Walton stuff. I need to rewatch the Waltons. But like, today I was at half price. And what did I pick up? I picked up Planes, Trains, and Automobiles on DVD. You can get them for a song. So I got that. And I also picked up a Louis L'Amour book. I forget which one it was, but it was Conager, I think. It was made into a movie in the 90s. I picked up Gran Torino at an estate sale. Go to estate sales, go to garage sales. You'll find a lot of DVDs. I've never seen the Waltons. Yeah, I kind of grew up too. Oh, I think you're cool. Oh, well, thank you. I think everyone's cool. We need to be nice to each other and hang out and have fun because, as I said earlier in the stream, it's just life hits hard, and when it hits, oh my gosh, we got to stick with each other, and you kind of learn. I've had 2 deaths this fall. One unexpected, one sadly that was expected but sucked because he was our age. After a 2-year illness, he passed away. And another one passed away unexpectedly, again, our age. And it's hard. It's really hard to lose a friend, let alone 2. And of course, it's hard for the parents of them because, one said at the funeral, I was supposed to go before, not after. Sorry for your loss. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And loss is, yeah, I mean, it's been rough. And then, we found out about more cancer. Not with me. But sometimes it's hard seeing a loved one go through cancer and go through chemo. But I'm also, again, very blessed that I'm available, that I'm in a situation where I'm available to help. And so that's a good thing. Now, we are coming up on Thanksgiving. I may or may not do a stream with that. But if otherwise, I want everyone to have a very happy Thanksgiving. Hopefully no family drama. And if there does, just pour some liquor down their throats or something if they're, a drinker. If not, leave them alone. So in any case, thank you very much. I've got to go. I've got a phone call I need to be on. So have a great day, everyone. Have a great day. And be certain to keep reading Harry Potter and read chapter 2. Again, I cannot tell you when because it depends on my availability, which sometimes is very last minute, but I will be here. And please ring the bell, read Harry Potter, and do what brings you joy.